Client inquiries, Jarrod, Kimber, George Dobell, MCG. You did my thing.
That's just helping and supporting.
Andy said, did England just win a day?
They did.
They did just win a day. They won a day when they dropped catches and Mitchell Johnson bowled well. That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, they batted really badly this morning, but they've won the day and they're going to have to bat a bit better second time around to win the game, but you know, step in the right direction.
They also almost had no excuse to win the day.
Hey,
they should give it back. Paul Frame says, framing, is this pitch playing worse than it looks? And Chris Boring Rogers says, both teams really bowling well, or are the batsmen playing defensive? I had a great piece lined up for yesterday that got spiked by Andrew Nasher, thank you, which was all about the fact that this pitch is like Shield pitches, and then Chris Rogers came out and said it. It's like the Shield pitches you get here, that are just dodgy and they don't really go anywhere and they're a bit dull and they're hard to score on, they're hard to get wickets on.
They're like the pitches that the Ashes series in England were played on, which suits England's fairly attritional style. So the point is that if England go head-to-head, toe-to-toe rather, with Australia on bouncy wickets, try and play aggressive cricket, they're going to lose.
Derek Smith says, great performance by England, but where has this been for the first 3 tests? George Dobell.
I think they've bowled all right, you know, most of this series. I honestly do. Anderson, who's taken 3 for today, everyone is saying how well he's bowled, just said he reckons he's bowled less well today than he has done in previous games. So I thought Broad was fantastic, and I think having the extra seamer, the all-rounder of Stokes, makes a really big difference. It eases the burden on the others, but the problem is the batting, and they're still going to have to bat better to win the game.
They're going to have to bat really well, aren't they? I mean, they're going to have to put a distance, but yet again, they couldn't get past Brad Haddon. The thing is, today, unlike in other days, they just went around it. Jack Dinning says, how far would the ball have gone if KP had connected with the shot he got out to? Peter Miller says, why is KP Mo worse than a Carberry or Clark Lee?
Well, that's a really good point. Look,
it is.
It wasn't a pretty shot. It wasn't a pretty shot. Clearly it wasn't. It's hideous.
Peter Miller's
but he's the highest scorer in the match so far at the end of day 2. Both sides are batted. And he didn't have any confidence in the tail.
That shot could not have ever worked in any way, shape or form.
Yeah.
The best he would have done is hit it straight up in the air. It was the shot that I had a problem with. I don't care about him hitting across the line. I don't care about him being attacking. I don't care if he goes out playing attacking shots. That was a stupid slog that a number 11 would play.
And he did
not the sort of... Because he can smack that straight back over his head.
Yeah, and he did have a man at the other end who had scored a Test 100.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
But I do think there's a context, and the point about is it worse than Carberry leaving a straight one? And that guy bowled very wide of the crease. It just angled in really. No, it's not.
Akkad Desai says, why were the Aussie commentary clowns silent when Bailey didn't walk? They were crying horse about Broad.
Because the commentary is hypocritical and biased.
I'm 100% right with you, but I don't believe George Bailey hit his ball. And
I'm not sure he did either, but
he's not going to. Yeah,
no one walks.
But I think the root one is the most similar one.
It's the hypocrisy of the journalism.
If it wasn't for Channel 9, I don't think I would have become a cricket writer, because they angered me so much so often.
Really?
That I just went, someone has to write what is actually happening and not the nonsense that they go on about. Ben Richards said, has there ever been research on what noises are created as a ball passes near a
really good question.
My biggest problem with DRS in general is not all the normal nonsense that everyone else hates. It's the fact that it was never tested. It's still TV gimmicks. It's only recently the Hawkeye's has been tested correctly by the ICC, because the MCC stumped up the money and it went to a university in the UK. I don't believe that Sicko has been properly independently tested.
There's this old story. My friend Paul Smith, who used to play for Warwickshire, was out in a Lord's final.
Name drop.
Was out in a Lord's final, slashing one outside off stump. He absolutely swears it was the bat handle moving within the wood. And these things happen less in modern bats, but they still happen.
Chris Stocks,
laughing.
Stokers, who will be England's wicketkeeper for the first test of the summer?
That's a good question.
I was just about to tweet a really horrible tweet today about Bairstow fumbling and he took a catch. I thought, good luck to him.
I would say Pryor or Butler.
Phil Woods says, would other Australian players, example Warner, have received the same concern from England as Rogers?
Where do you go? Okay, so Rogers got hit in the head. It didn't look very... it looked really sore. It cut his face and
he's not a massive sledger, is he?
He's not a sledger at all. I would like to think if they're hit in the head and there was just a possibility he was concussed or something, that they would suspend hostilities. I think it's a pretty ugly game if they wouldn't.
Jordan Mason said, surely George Bailey isn't good enough for Test match cricket. And Oliver Mackey says, if George Bailey fails again in the second innings, what should Australia do for Sydney?
Is it
go?
Well, is it not one innings? He's had one duck, yeah, on a pitch where nearly everyone struggled. Wasn't it?
Which he may not have hit, to be fair.
Well, the previous game, he had a world record number off and over in a typically selfless innings. Look, I'm not completely convinced by him either, but why? What's this, all this stuff about one more failure? He's done fine.
What we saw today was the fact that Australia's batting is still really weak, and Haddon's been saving them.
In every game this series, have they been what? In the first innings of every game apart from Adelaide, I think they've been 150 for 5.
Paul Frame says, what matches do the MCG members actually show up in huge numbers for?
This one?
Amazing amount of people. I think the members holds 25,000. I just might have made up that number, but it holds a lot of people. Today they had more members in it than it did yesterday.
So the members area is bigger than Cardiff or Trent Bridge. I mean, they're entire grounds, yeah. So when you see a lot of empty seats, I wouldn't take much notice.
There weren't any empty seats today.
Well, I think we've had something like 165,000 people or something in the first 2 days of the game.
Last question today comes from an unknown person, Philip Brown, who says, what is your favourite South American cheese?
Do you know, one day I want to write a film about cheeses. I want the idea is to
South American cheeses.
Milk celebrities and animals and have exotic cheeses. So if you could persuade her to do it, you'd milk Paris Hilton and have Paris Stilton.